happy to be part of Creative Mornings and to take the stage. Before I used to attend only, and I'm overwhelmed by the turnout today, and I hope it is something that would resonate with you. My wish today is to bring clarity, inspiration, and action. So, So I am one of those who believe that there are no coincidences and that the soul seeks its own. And I'm really curious to know if someone shares this belief with me. Raise of hand. Nice. This belief has continuously proven to be right throughout my life. I'm here to talk about how trusting our intuition would lead us to live a more creative life. And when I say creative life, I mean it could be changing careers, moving across countries, writing your next book, or maybe making lasagna, which I ate yesterday. So it does not have a limited definition. It's about the deep listening that can guide us to our true calling, to something that we are meant to do in this life and to bring forth in this life. So a couple of years ago, I joined an entity and I was really, really excited to be with a specific team and work with them. 2 months into this role, no, actually 2 weeks into this role, the team had to leave. So I was I was conflicted. I was really confused and doubting my decision to move. Like I moved, I wanted to work with them. I'm really curious to gain from their experiences. Although this is another life lesson that you shouldn't move for people, you should move for more than one reason. But the point is, although I was having that inner chatter that I should have done that, I should have known better, I should have done better research, etc., etc., there was a subtle and calming voice that was telling me I am in the right place. And I tend to believe that voice, and it tends to be rewarding. But what I'm trying to say is that I spent almost a year in that role before knowing that I was actually in the right place. It was not something that I made, and it was crystal clear that I made the right choice. So what I did is that I moved internally into another department, which is international affairs, an area that I've always wanted to work in. So that was, glass half full. But again, I was not doing something that was proving to me that following my intuition was yielding fruitful results yet. A year into that, I got assigned a specific track in the G20 under the Indian presidency. And namaste. I love India. And 10 years ago, when I started learning the language, I thought it was just a passion project. And back then, a lot of people were telling me, why would you learn Hindi? Learn French. You're good with languages, or learn Spanish. It's on the UN languages. Why Hindi? So this story is about following intuition in two folds. One, when it comes to something major like career. Another is following something that you believe brings you joy, which is language learning or any hobby that you find really rewarding. And to me, Hindi is a language that I consider like my refuge, or like an exit to any negative day that I have. I just switch into Hindi and it just all gets better. So again, it's about just following what makes sense to you. You don't have to follow what other people think is right. So we talked about intuition, and I have my own definition of intuition. I think I'm blocking it. So intuition to me is a subtle, calm, and gentle voice that nudges you towards something. It doesn't shout. It's not charged with emotions. It's not charged with stress or even excitement. It's very neutral, and it's a process that combines experiences and our subconscious information. And studies have proven that the more we disregard it, our brains become less adept to recognizing and trusting these signals. So going against our intuition could be an act of self-destruct, unknowingly so. So this definition did not come crystal clear to me right from the start. And it's just like anything else in life. It's about trial and error. You follow it once, you disregard it once, and you get to learn which one is the voice that you need to listen to. One thing that I have found to be useful in knowing whether this is an intuition or not is it's typically either a yes or a no. So for example, shall I leave this job? It's either a yes or no. It doesn't give you a lot of information. It's either an expansion in your chest or you shrink. That's how I get to know at least my own voice in that. And I mean, we live in a world where everything needs to be calculated, KPIs, measures. It needs to make sense on paper. You need to follow X, Y, Z, and you need to have your pro-con list. Life doesn't work this way, at least for me and for my experience. And it just takes time for us to listen deeply to what our heart is saying. And I stumbled upon this quote by Jane Goodall, who says, "Only our clever brain and our human heart work together in harmony can we achieve true potential." And that's what proved really true to me, and that's what I'm hoping to help you achieve today. But again, when we talk about creativity, we cannot ignore the fact that we want to control something. I was reading Julia Cameron's book, which is called The Artist's Way. It's one of her best-selling books, and the best-selling in the world around creativity. And she tackles creativity in all its forms. And she released a number of books and also workshop kind of books discussing creativity and being true and staying true to your inner calling. So creativity requires faith, and faith requires that we relinquish control. And the way I see it is that when we seek control, it's our way of regulating fear. We are afraid of the unknown, natural human behavior. We're afraid that we don't meet expectations. We're afraid that it doesn't work well. We're afraid of failure, which is normal. So again, it goes back to accepting what we are willing to, what sacrifices we're willing to make in following our intuition. So, I remember something, wait. So when it comes to fear, I am a believer that awareness is important, being called your self-aware is important, but it matters truly with the information that we deal with when it's brought to our attention. So knowing that we are fearful of a specific situation is good information, right? But what are we going to do knowing that we are afraid of the situation? And I had to parent myself into listening to that fear and like sitting in the same room and say, "What you got? What's your problem? Really? What are you afraid of? Is there a specific need that has not been met that I need to cater for? Is there, for example, this morning, I was honestly not able to sleep well because of the talk. Although I've been on stage before, although I've been preparing for it for the past month, I've done the dry run with Barik. So I'm ready. I'm really ready. The content is there. There's my experience. And what I did differently this time is I approached it with 2 C's, curiosity and compassion. Usually, I give more power to the inner critic. And now, I decided that I want to know what is making me scared to speak to you today. It's not like me. Like, I'm typically very confident. What happened this morning? I could not understand it. And I realized that it could be because of the huge turnout, the long wait list, that I want to make it worth your time. Not everyone is a morning person, and not everyone can relate to intuition the way I do. So that there's this challenge of trying to make sense of what's so clear in my heart and in my bones to everyone who's attending. So knowing that actually gave me a sense of ease, and like you can see my smile now. So these are the tools that I live by, aside from the theory. One is to leave things in God's basket or in Allah's basket as a metaphor. When you are putting your efforts towards something, your work is done. It's now with God. And I think we talk a lot about Allah Ma'ana, and we pray, but do we actually live by those prayers? Do we actually sense God's presence in everything we do in our life? And how is that related to intuition? It's because that sense of ease that we cultivate, knowing that God is here, you're able to actually listen to what you're guided to do. And one of the key practices that I started doing is, as you can see in the photo, I bought this 99 names of Allah that every day, it's become my morning ritual. So one day, it's al-Mu'min. So I try to feel the name of al-Mu'min throughout my day. And I just, every time I face something, I go back to faith, al-Mu'min. And same goes to, for example, Salam, al-Khaliq, especially when I want to create something very creative. So I would feel that I am an extension of God's soul. So I have at least a bit of that creativity and creation in me. And another thing that Julia Cameron, which we've seen before, was talking about in her book, The Artist's Way, is morning journal. And the morning journal is 3 pages of what's that called? Consistent writing, non-stop writing. You don't filter it, you don't critique it. You could even write, I don't like writing today. I don't feel like writing. And that's okay. The key point is that you continue to write, and it's considered as a way to detox your brain. So imagine if your brain is detoxed every day, you're allowed to have greater attention to what really matters throughout your day. And this is a practice that she lives by, and I started living by recently, and it brought me so much calmness, and it brought me so much anchoring throughout my day. Again, meditation, maybe not too much into that, it's a bit obvious. Intentional digital detoxing, time in nature, going on an artist date, which is something I want to talk about, that Julia was recommending, where you schedule 1 day a week, where you take yourself like a kid to a game store or to a Jareed, and you buy colors or puzzles, and just you spend this hour doing whatever you want to do as if no one is watching. And Jareed is one example. You could go for a dance class or do something that you don't normally do to unleash your creativity within you. And last thing that I came to experience recently, which is knowing what are my baseline needs. And the baseline needs differ from one person to another, and it takes time, and I think the honesty, the journaling, all makes one realize what are their baseline needs. For me, I cannot go a day without having 2 solo time. And this week actually has been really challenging because I would stay in the office until 7, and then there are a lot of social activities that I don't want to be part of, but I have to be part of. So I was not coming here really clear because that need was not met. But knowing that there is a need that I have to help myself meet makes all the difference. So Leo Bota is known in the Zen world, and he says, be a curator of your life, slowly cut things until you're only left with what's necessary and with what makes you happy. And what is necessary to you is different from what's necessary to me, and what makes you happy is different from what makes me happy. We are in a world that pushes us towards achieving, towards doing the next thing, towards making it, towards being thrilled on LinkedIn. But life is bigger than that, and decluttering that noise of the things that we think we should be doing allows us to actually live in alignment and having that voice clearly heard. So maybe key takeaways. This is a more fancy way to say key takeaways. We can all tap into our intuition. It is a muscle that requires training and tuning. We're not going to achieve it from the first time. It takes patience, and it's like anything else. It's a journey, and it has stages. Sometimes you think you mastered, I know how to deal and I can listen. Other days you get challenged and you get tested. Like this morning, I got tested with my own trust in myself. It either feels so right that it cannot be wrong, or it feels so wrong it cannot be right. And if you're tapping into something really new, you're not crazy. Do not gaslight yourself. You're just the first. You're just trying to figure things out on your own. And someone was saying, don't expect caterpillars to understand you when you're speaking butterflies language, something like that. Courage, persistence, and trust are the means of enabling us to a full, generative, and rewarding lives. And this is something that I hope you take away with you. These are my resources that I've been contemplating on a lot recently. The Artist Way that I mentioned earlier in the talk. Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, who is also the author of Eat, Pray, Love, one of the most best-selling books. And she launched also a podcast where she interviews creatives who feel blocked. And she works with those creatives through those podcasts and gives them assignments. Like she would give one who wants to write an assignment of not writing at all. So she has those interesting workshops and working sessions that we can maybe try on our own in our endeavors. Of course, Brené Brown, her books, specifically also her podcast, Unlocking Us, it really resonates with me. And she's also an advocate for vulnerability, for shame, for trust, and she has a really interesting video on YouTube called The Anatomy of Trust. And it's more about trust in relationships, different from our talk today, but it's really deep. Last but not least, Monique Shield. I stumbled upon her podcast, Ambition Without Compromise, and she taps into a lot of the things that I covered earlier. She's a coach, and she coaches through tapping into intuition. So although it's career coaching, she does not undermine the value of intuition in making choices of value. So I would like, after all this lecture, invite you to take an action towards self-trust. We still have our papers, so I'm sure some ideas come to your mind, some abandoned projects that you've been thinking about and you did not have the time to bring into fruition. Think of one act. It could be a very small act, like starting the morning journal, or doing meditation once a week, or just one small act that you think will help you reach this dream that you want to achieve, or if you're thinking about a career move, there's one act that you can do towards that direction, and you know it's true to you. So I'll give you, I don't know, a minute. Who are not writing. حرام عليكم. Okay. Maybe 2 more minutes. I want to leave you with one quote today. I just felt like I want to share it just now. It goes as, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within all of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you so much for trusting.